Good evening and welcome to another edition of Pep Talk with Pepper Johnson. Remember, Pepper's got 5 rings, guys, 2 as a player, 3 as a coach, and we're going to talk about how the game goes today, how it is, how it was, and how it should be and why. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Ken Carson, who is the guy who makes all this happen. And look at what we got going on tonight, guys. In the same building, we got Mr. Pepper Johnson, and we've got Anthony, the Greek Junior Snyder. How are you guys doing tonight?
Very good. Very good.
A+.
In the shadow of MetLife Stadium. Oh,
Yeah.
It'll always be Giant Stadium. Come on.
It'll always be Giant Stadium, right?
Okay, wait a minute, Jeff. You gonna let him show off his shirt? Can I show off my shirt?
Let's show it. Let's see it.
There you go. You got before. Can you see that? Can you see that cute kid turned into that
Look
monster?
at that.
Yeah.
That kid
look at
turned
it.
into that guy. Look at
Turn into
that.
that.
Oh, man.
So I guess your mother was a good cook.
Yes.
Well, I just heard this new book came out about the top 100 players in the NFL all time, and LT is the highest ranking defensive player. I think he's 4 or 5. They listed him. What do you think about that as playing with him and being his teammate for those years?
You know what? I am very blessed with my football career because I think I had the opportunity to play against some of the better guys that have ever played the game. People ask me about my history. What was the best running back that I ever played against? And I can say Walter Payton, which a lot of people feel he is, agrees with that. I actually, I feel like it's an honor that I did get the opportunity to play 7 years with Lawrence Taylor. And then I actually had the opportunity to play and be in the locker room with a Barry Sanders. So
Wow.
I've seen 2 of the best best guy maybe defensively, best guy maybe offensively. Actually be in the locker room and know what makes those guys tick. And being coached by Parcells and the Belichick is 2 of the better coaches they ever, and Nick Saban, 3 of the better coaches that ever laced them up and put on a tie.
Wow, that's amazing.
And when I say put on a tie, Woody Hayes.
What do you hate?
I don't know how to phrase the question. Was it impactful that you were playing as a defense when you're practicing? You're playing against a solid offense. I bring this up because I did a signing back in 2005 with the 85 Bears reunion, and I think it was McMichael was telling us a story how in practice once they lined up the offense at the 5-yard line, and they all bet $1,000 a man that the offense couldn't score on the Bears with Walter Payton and Jim McMahon and his all that stuff. They had 4 plays to do it. He said, and after 4 plays, they were on to 15.
So they actually lost yards.
Is that impactful playing against when you were practicing against a Barry Sanders or practicing against a Phil Simms and Otis Anderson, those guys?
Yes. Out of all the LT highlights I have ever seen, in practice, I seen him lift Jumbo Elliott up with his left hand, one hand, lift him up in the air and push him back.
Jeez.
And this wasn't a jumbo. Well, anyone knows Jumbo. Jumbo is not a far from a passive guy, and he doesn't go back on his heels and all that stuff like that. But it was a Lawrence Taylor and his will to lift him up. Barry Sanders, all the highlights you've seen of Barry Sanders. Yes, I am going to say that I witnessed the best Barry Sanders move I've ever seen. We're in practice, and like I told you, how I had to stay in shape in Detroit, because we didn't do conditioning, was
Chasing Barry Sanders.
chasing Barry Sanders on the show team. And Barry had a little ritual. Okay, when he came up to practice early. He would always run on 10 cross fields, right? That was easy
Okay.
to start the practice off and warm up or whatever. But in practice, every time he got a handoff, he would run 20, 25 yards and then come back, whether, and good jog on the way back. So I joined the show team so I could do that run with him. Now we had a spread offense, so the majority of the plays was passes to Herman Moore and and those guys. But he when he got the ball, he would make sure he'd take that sprint. So that was my way of conditioning also. So one time in practice, Barry gets a handoff and he's running. He's kind of now, I'm moving with the motions and all this stuff like this, but I'm quite sure you guys know that He's just going to have to imagine. He's just going to have to vision on what Barry did. But Barry starts to go straight up, and he goes into a spin move. Now, when he goes into a spin move, one of our defensive linemen is taking out one of our offensive linemen and pushing him down. He pushed him down on the ground. So while Barry is doing the spin move, I'm thinking, oh man, he's getting ready to step on him. Oh, this might get ugly. Barry did the split. So his legs was on each side of him. After he did the spin, his legs was on each side of him. And then he kept running like nothing was there. Like nothing never really happened. And I'm chasing and running in behind him. I'm like, I am so glad this dude is I'm on his that we're in the same locker room for a change, because
Oh
when
my
we
God.
played against them, when I was with the Giants, this is a Belichick story, that Belichick actually wanted to get a chicken and wanted us to chase a chicken around in practice.
Like from Rocky?
Yeah. He wanted us to chase a chicken around in practice, talking about, this is how you can't catch a chicken. Well, his theory was
Right.
you're not going to catch the freaking chicken, or how hard it is to catch a chicken. He didn't want us to attack Barry. He felt like if
Right.
you attack Barry, he's going to make you miss. He's going to make you look bad. So the game plan was, if you get to Barry and there's no one else there,
Just crowd.
just break down and hope the cavalry is coming. Yeah.
Right.
And so we
Good to see you guys like this. No.
Yeah. You just, and we did that all week in practice, and we shut him down, but
Yeah.
we only played him once. I go out to
Right.
Cleveland, and next thing you know, I used to pride myself on never making anybody's highlight reel, and I'm on Barry's highlight reel, but there's no moves or anything like that. He's just nice.
Were you in Detroit when Barry retired?
No, the year after.
Oh, the year after.
Yeah.
Could you see the handwriting on the wall? It's sort of like an urban legend of like, why did he retire still when he had so much left in the tank?
It's not him.
It
It's not him. Yeah,
It was management.
No. I'm saying it's like, and no disrespect to Emmett, but Emmett seeked that. He played
The longevity and getting the record.
just to get the record.
Yeah.
That what Barry wasn't about that. Barry one time, and he's going to be mad at me for telling the story this way. But one time we're in the locker room, and Barry came across. I didn't sit by him. He came across the locker room, and he sat by me, and he asked me, sounded like a freaking third grader, like, Pep, how is it being in a winning locker room? And I'm telling you, I don't know if I want to hug him or answer him, or
Right.
what to do first, because there is no person, no player that I've ever met more deserving of Super Bowl championship than that guy. You talking about putting in the work. You talking about a humble player. You never see him spike the ball or anything. And this is what I'm supposed to do. They
Right.
give me the ball, and I'm supposed to get across that line, and that's what he did. And if too many of you guys come close, I'm going to make y'all run into each other on my way of getting across that line. And that's what he did. And he was so honorable, and he's so, oh man, this guy he is the best. He is the best. You talking to him, you haven't met him. I don't know how many of you guys met him, but he's so humble, and there's nothing to dislike about Barry Sanders. Now,
So it just ate away at his heart.
yeah,
Just being on a losing team all that time, and just couldn't take it anymore.
and he knew, and he wasn't that guy. Like, okay,
Like Emmett. Like
no.
Every
Emmett
touchdown,
was blessed.
he had to keep the ball on every touchdown. This was touchdown 136. Like he was all about that personal stats and getting that record, and that.
But I think Emmett was. I don't want to say it was personal like that. That people have their drives. People have their drives because I never only in a Pro Bowl have been his teammate, but you don't hear anything negative about that person. Also, it's just it's a different type of humbleness, and why he was doing it and winning championships, letting people know, hey, I did this. I wasn't. It wasn't. We won a lot of team championships, but I accomplished something also. So. That's what I'm thinking. I want to
really... So when you say when Barry retired, in your opinion, was it because there was he knew they weren't going to get over the hump, or did he say, I've done my time, I'm not going to get any better than this, and I've done what I wanted to do?
No, I really do think they wore him down. I really do. And that was, I'm gonna tell you with all honesty, and my friends know, I went over to Detroit thinking, hey, I might can help defensively, because offensively, when we played against them, I thought they were a tough team to stop, because you can't just say 8 men in the box and you're going to stop Barry Sanders. You're not going to do that. You can't say you're going to blitz him and catch him in the backfield and you're going to stop Barry Sanders. No, that wasn't going to happen. You can't say I'm a double Herman Moore and you're you're good. And you got Perriman and you got Morton, the other two receivers, and freaking Sloan as a tight end. So there was a very difficult team to hold on to. So I said, well, maybe if they just need a little help on the defense, and I can bring that in a little leadership. But our defensive mind was so bad that we couldn't really help the offense in that aspect. And the Lions weren't trying at the given time to win. It was more so, let's just put a good product out on the field and let it go from there. But how do we get it over the hump? No one didn't really. No one was really trying like they're doing now. Because why? They got a Buckeye in administration. They got a Buckeye in administration with Spielman, and then they got Campbell, who was a grinder for a head coach. And hopefully they can continue to do something, because
they're doing pretty good this year.
Yeah. But hey, I'm not totally sold yet, because I'm born and raised in Detroit. We were always sold promises. Going to be better. Going to be better, and never. We wanted 3 or 4 teams that never been to a Super Bowl, and I'm saying because of Detroit,
right? Detroit, sure.
City. But it's out of the 4 teams I played for, out of my 13 years of playing, that was my worst season ever. It was so disappointing seeing some of the things that we did, and A lot of stuff. I would burn a lot. I would burn a lot of bridges and throw some people up under the bus if I told those stories that I don't want to do,
Not
and they
yet.
don't have anything to do with
Um,
players.
I had I had a I had a I had a buddy of mine who was an agent back then, and he told me that um, Barry went to the Lions and wanted to trade. He had 1 year left on his contract, and he said, "Trade me," and they refused. So he refused. Detroit refused. So he said, "Well, I'll retire," and they said, "Okay, retire." So he retired, thinking that they were going to at some point maybe release him or something like that. And they basically told him, "No, if you come back, you have to play. You have 1 year left in your contract. You have to play with us." And he never came back.
Yeah, and if that's true, someone
Sure.
did that talking for him because he wouldn't have never
Yeah.
came out like that. Like, and I used um, the example or the comparison of him and Randy Moss. And Randy Moss was a guy same. The hunger to want to win. Randy had that wanted to win. So in a Corey Dillon, these guys, unlike Barry Sanders just stayed to himself and he kept all that stuff bottled in. So he hands back the ball. Um, Randy Moss was a talent and was like, I see so much other talent, but before um, he would go and chastise his teammates or anything like that, his outlash was in the media, or his outlash was off the field, or whatever gave Randy Moss
Yeah.
negative publicity. And like I said, Corey Dillon. Now, Bill Belichick looks like a freaking, like a angel, a god, or something look at it. He's just turned these guys into nice guys. No, he didn't turn them into any freaking nice guy. They already had that personality in them. What brought out the hostility was losing football games, which they had a passion for, and they worked so hard to get it. We were blessed, and we blessed Corey and got him a Super Bowl championship, but we couldn't get Moss that championship. And as soon as we couldn't get Moss that championship, them demons started firing back up a little bit.
Right.
But still, he goes out on a good note, and one of the better guys that ever played a game. And you don't anybody ever try to mess with that guy's football IQ. It is huge.
Nice.
Randy's.
Randy's,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I'm gonna tell you, all three. Bill actually gave me the ugly task of telling Corey Dillon what I thought was a negative of his. And when we played against him, and I was always the guy and running attacks. So I had information on all the running backs. So when he brings Corey over there, he had me sit down with him to tell Corey uh, what I thought was a negative of his. And the negative that I felt with Corey Dillon is that he ran out of bounds. And I'm like, why are you running out of bounds? He'll do so much work and then get to some little dude by the sideline and then run out of bounds. He set a rushing record. I think he had 275 yards or something like that, a single game rushing record. And he got pushed out of bounds like 3 or 4 times, and he had more, and it was someone smaller than him. So Corey, not aware of what he was doing and it was bad, um, said, "Okay, you'll never see me run out of bounds again. See, I'm gonna make them tackle me." And
Right.
then he has a ring on his finger because he um and not because I did that. Hey, I don't.
No, listen. Hey, like,
Corey Dillon he's a monster. He's a very thick and solid man, and he was hard to tackle, and no one talks about him.
You want to touch on why doesn't have a championship?
Randy Moss don't have a championship because of we set up
that
there.
Phoenix Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, we sat up there and we did everything we possibly could to not finish that season before the game was played. And
What does that mean?
it's
We talked about
Undefeated
this.
coming in.
I'm
It's
bad.
you're the biggest, one of the biggest favorites in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think it was bigger than what Buffalo was supposed to do to us in Super Bowl 25.
Yeah, I was about to say about 9 points, I think.
Yeah.
I think everyone used to give the pay. It's still Belichick X's and O's. I mean, he out coaches everybody, and he's a great strategist and all this stuff. And in that undefeated season, going into that Super Bowl, it became about the glitz, the glamour, and not about the X's and O's in that Super Bowl. And there was no reason they should have lost that game.
Belichick don't know glitz and glamour, so not really him. But yeah, it's loud. Everything else. If I don't say anything else, I just would bring up one thing that a lot of people did not notice, or they wasn't even thinking about it until I say this. And when I say karma to you, Anthony, Coach Belichick, just like myself, if you look at what he would wear, he wore that hoodie. He wore a gray hoodie, and is so much like him that instead of asking someone to give him a short sleeve hoodie, he cut the sleeves off the hoodie himself. Right. Um, uh, and how I compare with myself, I'm that way too. Whatever I wore week one, I'm wearing the rest of the season. Don't try to give me any other clothes or anything like that. So if I looked a little dingy or clothes look a little faded by the end of the season, that was the reason why. Okay, we get into the Super Bowl. We get into the AFC Championship game, and they want to put that patch on you, right? So want you to wear something with a patch. So I had them, sew it onto my stuff, and they sewed it onto Coach Belichick's gray hoodie. Now we get into the Super Bowl, and I'm telling you, like I had a routine, dapping up all the coaches, da 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 da. And when Coach Belichick came out from out of the locker room with a red hoodie on,
A new one.
I pretty much, I can't say I knew we was getting ready to lose, but I was like, this is so bad right now. And everything that we've been doing this week was so bad. Now,
Right. Well, and like you said before, this isn't about like superstition. This is about,
it's not.
You build a habit all year long, and then you do it every single game, and you got to undefeated to here. Why are you going to change it before the game? The last game's over. Why would you change? Why would you change it if you have a routine and it works? You talked about how the kids had their day to kind of family day to go on the field and do their thing, and then you told me that they did it again, right? They did it on a day they shouldn't have.
Right before the game, 3 hours before.
Right before the game.
But with Belichick, they left it. His gray hoodie. The equipment guy was told to not bring the gray hoodie because Bill would have tried to put it on anyway. It wasn't Bill. It was a sale. So we're going to sell more.
Who told him to leave it? Who told the equipment manager to leave it? Oh, okay.
Michael Strahan.
Goodness.
Yeah, all right. I won't ask again.
It's one day we're going to get to the point. Now We're gonna revisit that question, Jeff. We're
Right.
gonna revisit that.
Mhm.
But no, it was so bad that he didn't have it, and there's several other things. So let's change the subject
But you think
because
that black clouded the whole?
I know it did.
As
I know
as
it
an
did.
insider, you think that black clouded you?
I know it did because matter of fact, I was just with Tyree
The helmet catch,
Monday,
Tyree, yeah.
and he's catching the ball, holding it on to the side of his head. Something went into the
That
stars.
was a miracle.
Yeah.
I was there. I was in the end zone where Plaxico. I watched that ball just drop into Plaxico, and when he caught in that end zone, and I mean that was the best moment in my sports fan history, because we had just seen the Yankees get destroyed, and all the Patriot fans aren't even wearing Patriot gears; they're wearing Red Sox gear because they're so happy the Red Sox beat the Yankees recently. And I was down in the front row going, "Revenge, revenge! Let's go Yankees!"
Yeah.
And they were just sitting there. So that was a.
I picked a wonderful day to come and sit in the.
Come on,
You knew Anthony was going to bring that up.
No, yeah,
your heart. I know you.
Trust me, Anthony. You cannot pick on me more than what LT pick on me or Carl.
Yeah,
them guys was like they called me a spy because I actually was at all 5 of the Giants Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 they won, I was on the field. The one they lost, I was watching up in a booth in a suite somewhere.
Right.
But I was on the field, 2 on the Giants sideline and 2 on the other freaking sideline.
Yeah.
And so they, like I said, you can't even begin to try to punch me as many times. Those guys, LT, sometimes I stick $1 in my pocket and act like I was telling people I was point shaving.
I have a kick. I got kicked out story from that Super Bowl because I had a press pass from my dad, the Denver Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was the first
21.
86, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm on the field with my dad's press pass, and I'm and a security guy came over, and I'm a young kid, and like
dig on the bad kid again.
There he goes. I get kicked off the field, but I'm on the field, and I'm like, and that's when photographers used to still shoot film, and all these film canisters were around. So I was picking grass from the Super Bowl turf and putting them in the film canisters just to have some souvenirs, and that grass rotted.
Yeah.
Like I opened it up years later, and it was like, ugh, it smelled bad. But I got kicked off of the Giants Super Bowl field.
See, that's the difference from a player and a grown man. My souvenir was the last football that was snapped.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got that bad.
That's amazing.
And a lot of people don't even notice when we were stumping and grinding, I had a football in my hand.
Wow. We'll have to go to the video. We'll have to go to the videotape and check it out. I bet you we can find it.
Okay.
The last play from scrimmage.
Hey,
look at that handsome man.
Now, the funny thing about this picture is that so Pepper just got this ring, right? So he brought it. We did an appearance at the Freehold. It was Monmouth Racetrack. Remember we were all in that little tent area, Pep?
Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It was you. It was Carl. Kenny Van Pelt was there right before he passed away.
Yeah.
It was all the defensive guys were in this. So Pepper goes, Ken, check this out. He takes out a little pouch out of his pocket, and he's got the ring, and he hands it to me, and you can see Pepper standing behind me there. So I took this picture, and Pepper turned around, and he thought I had the ring in my mouth. And he grabbed me and put me in a headlock. And he's like, "Where's that ring?" And I'm like, "What are you doing, Pep?"
Don't swallow.
Don't swallow it. Oh my God!
The size of this ring.
That's which New England Super Bowl?
Look at the size of that ring.
Yeah.
I mean, It literally,
Uh-huh. If anybody could have been the life size
yeah,
Fred Flintstone,
sure.
you could have been, Ken.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Look, I had black hair.
Oh my God,
Sort of.
look at that. Where's Barney?
No.
Well, let's see. Listen, before we keep going down this, and we can go down this hole forever. There was something I wanted to bring up. There was some conversations going on between Deion Sanders. It had to do with Deion Sanders and Shady
Shady McCoy. Yeah.
McCoy.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Hey man, I'm gonna tell you, maybe it's just me. There's some things I would do and some things I wouldn't do, and this is probably why they end up. Well, I know it's why they end up stopping me from my media career. Let me just put it that way. But he is. I saw Shady. He kind of went down on my totem pole a little bit, where he's trying to crush Deion Sanders about their defensive rankings and where the University of Colorado is ranked, and out of the 133 Division One schools, their defense is ranked 125th, some mess like that, right? And he kind of goes on to try to make it seem like Deion, he's a defensive guy, so he should be coaching a better defense. Now, Deion is one of the few all around coaches in from college and pro football that he didn't get his job just because someone said he's an offensive coordinator and he can be a head coach, or defensive coordinators, they can be head coaches. And then some people, special teams guys, they deal with coordinators, they deal with a lot of different players, and they can be head coaches. No, you need to have, you need to be likable. And what Deion has going on for him, besides social media, which he is crushing them with that in recruiting, is that when he gets into that locker room and he gets around those kids, it's a passion for the kids. And he hired his coaches to do the coaching, because what Deion Sanders did as a player, you can't. He couldn't coach that if he wanted to. Lawrence Taylor would make a terrible coach. Very good friend of mine. I've coached the defensive line, but there's no way in the world I'm bringing LT to practice and have him talk to my guys. Hey man, just run over this guy and do this. T couldn't have really explained to you what he was doing.
Right.
I mean, he could, but
right.
He's not,
but I mean, he's one of those guys like
Jordan.
You can't. It doesn't translate. Exactly. You can't teach it.
The concepts, he can tell you what he's looking for and this, that, and other, because he did a lot of that mess with me. You're not gonna. Deion Sanders for lack of a better term, was just a freak. The dude was so tall. He said long arms, long legs, and could run faster than the majority of the guys that he was covering, and could turn and could move and redirect and all that stuff. You're not. He didn't have. I'm quite sure he didn't do a lot of drills to get to that point. Just blessed. So his concept of running a defense, he's putting into his coach's hands, and it's up to them to do a better job of defending people and all that. And what they did when they started off like gangbusters, they became a marked team. So everybody is playing them. They're giving them their best shot, and they're going at them. And a lot of the teams are losing the week before, or they're losing the week after, just because they're so busy focused on trying to make a name playing against Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. So I don't know the guy from Jack, but and maybe he's being told this by producers. Ken let us talk, so he's not trying to put a muzzle. Definitely don't try to put a muzzle on me because it's not going to be ready to work. But we're not getting. I'm not shady. I think you kind of going in the wrong direction, and I'm not here to tell you. Do I know Deion Sanders? Have I met Deion Sanders? Yes. It's Deion Sanders' phone number on my cell phone. No, it's not. But I'm here to say this, that let's be fair and fair. Just watch what the man does, and just watch how those guys play, how those kids play for him, and that's what really makes a difference to me.
Yeah. No,
Being
well said.
a head coach.
Devil's advocate, he is a master of self-promotion, and people want to take him down a notch. So, yes. And those teams want to play their best against him and put a loss on him.
But yeah, exactly. Okay, marking that way. Yeah. That's fine and dandy with whoever is playing against him. But and that's what I'm saying. They're a marked team. But they're going to understand that. They're going to understand that, and then they're going to do something. They realize it and do something about it the next year. But or the remaining of the season. When you taking pop shots at a guy from freaking studio,
do you think coach has passed his sons graduating and going on?
Say it again.
Do you think he coaches past his sons?
Oh, yes.
Graduating.
Yeah.
Or is he just there to promote his sons and make them millionaires, which the quarterback already is.
There. Yeah.
Because of the new rules, he's already driving a $200,000 car and this and that. And
yeah.
So do you think he just is there to promote his sons and cement that legacy there, or is he really going to sustain himself as a head coach?
Yeah, I think he will continue. Whether it be at Colorado or not, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
but he would. I think he's still going to coach, and he has some bigger things.
Do you like how the college rules changed and allowed players to make a living in college while they're still in college?
And I am so glad that you asked that question. I do have mixed emotions about it, but being that kid that. There's no way in the world my mother would be able to afford me going to college, and for me to try to go to a college and work and pay for college at the same time. I don't know if I could have did it. So that was one of the main reasons why when I went to high school. I played baseball was my number one sport. Played baseball, only played organized baseball, organized basketball before high school, but I never played organized football until I got to high school.
Yeah, I get that.
And then so I made sure I played all three sports, and whichever one turned out the best, that's the one that I was going to try to hope that I could get a scholarship. And that's the only way that I was going to get into college, and then go from there. Messed around and started doing pretty good in football, better than what I thought I could do, because I was that little pudgy kid on the block that they just in the street football games, they put me up there to try to block all the bigger guys and get in their way.
So you started as a freshman. I did too. I get that.
Yes.
So where did they start you as a player?
What do you mean?
Where did you start? Did you start on defense? Did you play both ways?
I played offense and defense.
Yeah,
and
you're a linebacker, tight end type guy.
I was it's good that you say that. I was actually a linebacker, offensive tackle.
Oh,
and then when I got to my junior year, I played linebacker and tight end. And there's two newspapers in Detroit, Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News. And I made All City, All American, Detroit News at linebacker, All City, I don't even know if they had an All American free press, but at tight end in the other paper.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. But you
Oh,
were you recruited as a defensive player or both? I mean,
at
when you went
both.
to Ohio State, did they decide to put you on defense or
No, they told me they were playing. As a matter of fact, it came down to that I was start asking some of the recruiters what was they recruiting me for that they want me to
oh
play,
wow,
and it was a rumor that all the All Americans before me from my high school had their positions changed.
yeah,
When Fred Caraway, he got his position changed from linebacker, and they put him at defensive tackle. Kevin Brooks was before me. Kevin was like a 11 first round draft pick by the Dallas Cowboys, and I think it was like the 11th pick in the draft or
wow,
something like that. And he played outside linebacker, but when he goes to Michigan, they put him down at a defensive end. So when I get there, I heard rumors of them wanting me to play tight end, but you Michigan, we ran the ball. Everybody ran the ball back
yeah,
then.
that
Michigan,
yeah, that
Ohio
was
State, all that.
so
You ran the ball. It
Wishbone
was
was
half
still around.
exactly. Well, they didn't run the wristbone, but yeah,
It was still around.
it was still
Yeah,
around. Yep,
yeah.
and Rick Leach. So they told me they wasn't going to play me at tight end. Then Bill McCartney, and I know these guys would
Well, how
love
did
this
you
if they
feel
ever heard
about
about
that?
it. If a team was passing the ball a little bit more, then I'd
Right.
have been okay playing tight
Yeah.
end.
It
Um,
gets boring blocking every time
yeah,
on
well,
offense because I played tight end and then we didn't throw the ball much,
I
and then I moved to flanker and we still didn't throw the ball much.
yeah.
It's like
Well, I was I you know what I was okay. I think my senior year I caught 36 passes,
that's not
and
bad,
and I was yeah, you should have got Mike Dick in the Hall of Fame.
right? No, but
But yeah, but I caught I caught pass. I like blocking. I love when coach ran the ball to my side, and I was the premier guy that was taking somebody and dumping him.
yeah, strong right, strong left.
Exactly, and
You were the strong,
yeah, exactly. When they ran behind me, and when I played offensive tackle, it was I got my offensive tackle stories too, where I'm like 180 pounds, and they had this All American guy that was lined up. Matter of fact, against that guy Kevin Brooks, and Brooks couldn't block him, so our coach take us at halftime and switch us. And as soon as when he switched it, because he was giving our quarterback a nightmare. So when he switched us, um, the first thing I did after I blocked the guy, because I looked at him and he was looking just a tad bit too slim for me. Bigger guy. He was 260, and so I pat him on his ribs.
and you
As
were
soon as
180 pounds.
yeah, it was. I
This
think it
was
was
your
like
freshman year,
185. No, this was my
sophomore.
sophomore.
Yeah,
This was my junior year.
you were 180 your junior year.
Yeah, because my sophomore year, I was 178 pounds, and I grew up to like 186 pounds, maybe 190 at the most. Now also you're talking about a guy that when I left high school, I was 214 pounds.
Yeah, that's
So let's add, we talked about linebacker, we talked about tight end,
tight end.
but like Arizona State was in I want to say Washington also was recruiting me to be a safety
Yeah,
because they're big
you're
safeties.
a
And
big safety then.
yeah, they wanted. Well, it would have been like a regular safety, 6'3",
You're an
214.
undersized linebacker at the time, but I mean, you grew
Yeah,
into the position,
yeah,
right?
exactly. But anyway, so I pat the guy on his ribs and found out he didn't have on rib pads. And then the rest of the game, the whole second half, I blocked him. I kept punching him in his freaking ribs the whole
Chicken
game.
winged him.
No chicken wings. I was punching him,
Oh my
but
god!
yeah, literally. When I'm saying I'm punching him, I was punching him, and no tackles, no assists, no more pressures on the quarterback the rest of the game.
Tell tell us more about the when you did construction in college, how that changed everything.
Okay, yeah. Now, so this is I love this because this was a teaching lesson from my father, God rest his soul, Ron Grenadier. He he could have easily let me work for his metal company, which I did my senior year to help me pay for going to my on my senior trip, grab some clothes for my prom and for graduation and all that stuff like that, and just being big time your senior year, right? And this was after I signed to go to Ohio State. So, but my summer job, he had me work for a construction company that did demolition, and so all day, my job was carrying around this 75-pound jackhammer, and they'd get me up about 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, I was getting up 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would run because G said, "Hey, dude, do not forget about your running and get out of shape, trying to make money." So I would get up 6 o'clock in the morning, I would run, and then all day I am slinging this 75-pound jackhammer around,
Jackhammer,
right? But it was simple for me now. These guys, I don't know when they did it. I don't know who did it, but they when I come to work, they had little white spots. It was all lined up. Pepper, just take the jackhammer, drill a hole where you find the white spots, and keep working. We did bridges. We did like towers at old abandoned buildings, warehouses, or whatever. And it was beautiful. It was a sight to see when it was time to blow them, when they blew them up, and watching the stacks come down just like how they said and all that stuff. But going back to the reasoning why, Mr. G told me that um, he wanted me to get one or two things out of that's my summer job. Good money, great money, more than great money. Uh, but he said you can do this for the rest of your life, or you can go to school and get your grades and not have to do this. Go on, your dream of playing football. This should be your motivation. Now you can always fall back on this, and you're going to be good. But who is it wearing out? Because I want to say maybe about 7 or 8 o'clock every night. I was knocked out uh, before to get up the next morning and start my demolition. So, like I said, it was great. It even bought me a car for my second year because you couldn't have a car your freshman year. But I ended up getting me a car for my second year because of that, and that was my lesson. It was a wonderful story because every time I thought about that jackhammer, well, you know what? The jackhammer actually helped me also because we didn't have any weights at my high school. Um, so yeah, my neighbors freaking stole the
You didn't
weights.
have
That's a whole
a
nother
weight
story.
program at your high school.
No, and you know what? And let me chime in on that one right
This
now
is
too.
what, 1982?
Yep, 1982. I graduated in 1982,
Yeah.
and so my really my 3 years because we had a weight room, we had weights my freshman year, but I couldn't use them because I was on JV. Only the varsity guys use them. But some guys took the weights out of the weight room and took them up to college with them. And don't ask me why. That yeah, freaking brainiacs. They shortening us. But anyway, so we don't have weights. Matter of fact, what my coach ended up doing, trying to make some weights, he took 2 buckets, put in a pole, put cement,
It's concrete, right?
yeah, concrete on each end, and then he wrote 200, like it was 200 pounds on the thing. But if you sat on the bench, you go down, like your arm goes out and you cutting up your forearms on the buckets. because
God.
I was like, man, I'm not lifting that mess there. But anyway, like hey, I'm not gonna knock anybody that does lift weights, but I think for kids in high school, if you want to train with weights, fine and dandy. But when those kids be maxing out and all that stuff like that,
Mm.
me personally, I think it stops their growth. You see so many guys that's good in the weight room in high school, and by the time they get to college,
Mm.
they can't do anything.
Hmm.
They don't move as well. There's the ceiling is right down on them right now because they've already like hit some of their while they're growing, hit some of their limits.
Now, do you
Meanwhile, me,
as a defensive line
never.
coach, are you talking about the big guys? I mean,
I'm
that's
talking about everybody.
everybody.
I'm talking about everybody. I see. We grew up. We grew up in that era. Remember, it was manual resistance. You didn't. We didn't do. Even though a lot of people had weight rooms. We school in Detroit, so not too many of us had weight rooms, but you did all the manual resistance. So how much push-ups, how many dips and chin-ups, and we had the ropes in the gym, and you would climb up and down the ropes.
And actual pull-ups.
Yeah, natural pull-ups
Yeah.
and dips and chin-ups and all
Body
that
weight
stuff like that.
exercises.
And that's what I was getting ready to say next. I'm a strong believer that if the more you can you have control over your own body,
Right.
the better
Athlete
you're going to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We didn't use that word athlete because like athletes get thrown around. Everybody is a freaking athlete now. In our day,
But why
you was
is that?
called an athlete.
But why is everybody an athlete? I mean,
I don't call everybody an athlete. You're a football player. That dude is a
Yeah.
basketball player. That dude is a baseball player. That guy is a hockey player. That dude is a golfer. That girl over there plays tennis. No, I don't reference and categorize everybody as an athlete. Athlete in my day was that person that could play all those sports
Yeah,
good.
more sports. Yeah.
So I was considered an athlete because I was a three sport athlete.
Yeah, I think you find that with a lot of professional players that they played multiple sports and were very good at them. I can remember talking to Howard Cross, who told me he was a frustrated basketball player that plays tight end. So
Yes, and see, and now, and that's one of the things with Coach Earl Bruce, God rest his soul, that he was kind of before his time. When he recruited his players, kind of like the skilled players at Ohio State, he wanted mainly three sport athletes. He wanted three sport athletes. I tell people this the other day: if I was a head coach in the NFL, I would not draft a defensive back that never played baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah, if he played baseball, he would know how to judge the deep ball.
Mm.
Because lots of times yeah, exactly. I used to
It's
actually
not
have a
easy, though,
drill.
nowadays, though. I mean,
Well, it's going back to it now. It was a
There's-
period of time,
where
I would say, like in the '90s, where
Well-
they was trying to make the athlete
Well,
just play one sport. Yeah. Well,
There
no.
was-
What the problem? The problem was no one didn't. You didn't know, and no one was going out there to find them. So like we were even like one of the reasons why I kind of hung up my glove is because we weren't looked at the same way the kids in Florida, the kids in Texas, the kids in California was being looked at because they could play baseball all year round. We were lucky to get in 20
a
games
couple months, yeah.
in the season, and then you play summer, and I know for myself, if you're playing football or basketball, you got football training camp, you got basketball summer league.
What about spring football? Doesn't that interfere with baseball?
Yeah, that's what. Well,
Yeah.
well, at my high school, it really didn't.
Mm.
It's like we didn't. We actually gave a break at my high school, but you
In
all
football, you
three
didn't
sports.
have spring football?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
no
unusual.
spring, no. A coach let us off that. What were we gonna do?
I just think
We
when-
ran the ball. It was it's spring football now is for all the passing.
yeah.
That's really like when they go and they bring that's another subject I'm glad you brought up right quick. When I came into the league, there it was called passing camp. And now they reference it as OTAs,
Yeah.
right?
The
These
defense
guys,
never doesn't even hit you, right?
yeah, no one is
No,
really.
there's no
It's passing
contact.
cap. It's just
Yeah.
it's contact. Well, in our deal, it's contact. We was making more contact with these boys doing now with helmet and shoulder pads.
Then,
But
not today.
but none of the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen came. So then you start getting some of these defensive backs, and I think it was mainly wide receivers crying and complaining that after they lift weights, they have to go to passing camp where and they watching the offensive linemen and defensive linemen get in their cars and go home. So that's what made people bring up and invent OTAs and spring camp. But really, you don't want to do anything with the offensive line and the defensive line butting heads without shoulder pads.
No.
I promise you don't want. You're asking for fights, and if you don't have a fight, the chances are your team is very soft.
Yep. I get you.
If they're not out there fighting, no one wants to be punched and can't punch back. Okay, yeah, they tell I watch these these pass rush drills and all that stuff. Okay, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, but no power rushing. What if I'm a power rusher?
Yeah, we've been talking about
Oh,
this
man.
for weeks. The fact that players today, they're well conditioned, they're built like brick shit houses, but but
They look beautiful. They're sculpted out of steel.
Look like
What?
Tarzan, play like Jane.
Oh, there you go.
because like you said, Pep, you can't. That used to drive me crazy. I used to like the Dallas Cowboys, Emmitt Smith, and I hated every preseason. This guy never played, and I would always say, you can't take your first punch to the mouth on week one. You just can't. You can't get into football shape without playing football. We were talking about the 40. We talked about your 40-yard dash time. When I coach, we would do. You'd give the kid a 40-yard dash on the track, and then tell him go put your gear on, cleats and all. Now let's do it on the turf. Let's do it on the grass. See how fast you run with a football in your hand, and a guy standing in front of you. Now we're going to see who's got speed, because there's difference.
Exactly.
You can be fast on a track, but can't do shit on the field. So,
no doubt. And I see some and now a lot of people would sit up there and jump on top of a table for Jerry Rice on being the opposite, because Jerry Rice he's like Walls. He's like Walls. Now, supposedly Jerry Rice never ran up under a 4.6, but how many times you seen someone catch Jerry Rice after he caught the freaking ball? Yeah, he don't want to get caught. Yeah, exactly. And when people ask me, hey, how fast you ran on 40? I run fast enough to catch that dude with the ball.
Right. I agree.
But here-
But there's
but-
game speed. There's gamers, and there's game speed. And when you gear up in the game, that's what makes a play.
No doubt.
But like Ken was saying though, so you can't get ready for football without playing football, but you can get ready for football by not playing football if every other team is also not playing football. And that's the difference. It's because if one of these teams was playing as hard as Yuba did back in your day, and they were training as hard as they did in your day, and they came across any of these other teams, they'd lay them out. But they're not.
Okay.
They're all doing this now.
So Jeff, let me let you in on another Pepper Johnson story. Okay, so here goes my big brother, Carl Banks.
Mm-hmm.
And we're maybe about a week and a half away from coming into training camp. And Carl is I don't know if you know, but he's from Flint, a little higher up in the state of Michigan than me, from Detroit. And Carl said, "Hey man, where you at?" And this, that, and other. Da, 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 da. You should come up here and get a week of training with me. And I'm like, oh man, he was kind of bothering me a little bit because I had my little ritual, but I can't tell Carl Banks no. So I better figure this out. And what I figured out is to get in my car and go up there and train with Banks, right?
He was a captain on defense,
wasn't he? Yeah, that didn't matter.
Well, I'm just saying, when the captain calls, whatever.
I'm gonna tell you, captain or no captain, I was coming anyway. I'm gonna tell you, as soon as he made the call, that was a no brainer. But but you're all right. I would have did the same if LT would have told me to come to the freaking Virginia or somewhere. Yeah,
no,
wherever.
He was always in Chapel Hill.
Yeah. So I go to Flint. And blah, 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 and wake up the next day, we getting ready to, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. And it didn't matter. Like right now, he said, whatever he said went in one ear and came out the other. It didn't matter to me. Whatever Carl was ready to do, I was going to do, I thought. All of a sudden, he came down and threw me some shoulder pads and a helmet. And I'm like, what we doing? And he was like, we getting ready to run with our shoulder pads and our helmet on. And I was like, man, why are we putting on pads, Banks? I didn't want to tell him I wasn't putting them on, because then he was going to really make me look bad. And I was like, why are we putting on pads? He said next when camp starts, we starting off camp with pads on. You really want that to be your first day wearing pads, and Parcells gonna have goal line last, gonna have goal line live that first day.
Those were the days.
And I was like, he's right. He's so right. So I'm totally at agreement with you, Jeff, on that's how everybody is doing it. But you don't have to do it that way,
right?
You can still put on some freaking pads and still. Carl had me hitting sled and stuff like that. It was loosening up.
Listen, you hear about that stuff all the time.
Running to each other.
Yeah, you hear about players like meeting up in the off season, even when they don't have to, just to work on timing, to work on all kinds of stuff.
Saying, though, yeah, you get a guy nowadays who gets a buddy of his over, and they put on pads and start doing that kind of stuff. They get to training camp, and it's Club Med. They only work out. They only practice once a day. They can only wear pads every other day, whatever kind of crap they got going on because of the collective bargaining agreement. They don't even practice hard.
Yeah, but Ken, still, like what I'm saying to Jeff, they can put on the pads as long as the coach is not directing them.
Yeah.
So they can go out there, they can stay longer, but if the coach is out there with them, directing them, then that's what makes it illegal. But if they go out there and they want to hit the sled and they want to get warmed up them before, or they want to stay after practice, no, they're not going to kick them off the field.